Hello, everyone. This is Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is October the 2nd, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, unconfiscatable. I am offended by selling. Be a unique beast. Best freaking guests in the space are here today. As usual, I bring you this every Friday. Some really unique beasts are here. Brekkie, Brady, and Deniz makes his debut today. Now, I want to start it off on a really happy note here from Jan, who's buddies with some of these guys. Jan's got a great tweet out there. Presidents come and go, but Bitcoin stays the same. And then, well, not the price. That number goes up a lot. For the record, the last time we had a presidential debate, the price of Bitcoin was $617. So pound that like button, because that's the only mention of the president that you're going to hear today. That's maybe we'll talk about it later. Who knows? But yes, guys, if you're worried about debates, just put it in perspective. The last time there was a debate, the Bitcoin price was $617. So were you worrying about Hillary Clinton back then and being part of the machine and crying? Or were you actually buying Bitcoin? I was buying Bitcoin, and that's why I'm traveling around the whole world right now. But so let us jump into the news of the day from the land of Arthur Hayes, wherever that may be. Oh my God, everyone's talking about this BitMEX issue here. What is it here? CFTC charges BitMEX with illegally operating derivatives exchange. Okay, I've never gambled there before. And the price of Bitcoin dropped a lot when they made the announcement. All the weak hands panicked, then it bounced back up. And now it's the next day. So Brady, what the heck is going on? Explain to us this BitMEX Arthur Hayes situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is obviously just a matter of time. This has been a long time coming. I think it was a poorly kept secret that they were under investigation, if it was even a secret. I think pretty much everyone knew that was happening. So, the charges came yesterday, and an arrest was made. One of the co-founders, investors in BitMEX, Samuel Reed, was arrested in Massachusetts yesterday. So he's in custody. The charges were filed against the three individuals who own and operate BitMEX, largely own it. So Arthur Hayes, Ben Dello, Samuel Reed, and those guys, Arthur and Ben, are not in the United States. They're still wherever they are in the world right now. BitMEX is still up and running. I would get your keys off of BitMEX if you haven't done that already. It probably should have been the first thing you did. You should regularly sweep your keys off of exchanges, but especially make sure you get them off BitMEX right now. They are processing withdrawals. The exchange is operating normally, et cetera, et cetera. They were charged with violating anti-money laundering laws, failing to implement KYC, failing to prevent U.S. Customers from using their platform. They have replied and said that they will be vigorously fighting all of these charges, that they have been following all laws according to their understanding and available guidance, etc. So this will be an ongoing legal battle for years. I'm sure it's already been under investigation for at least a year and a half, sounds like.
All right. Do you think the United States will end up with the Bitcoin that's over there, with Arthur's Bitcoin, that all these people think it's their Bitcoin, but it's really, when you put your Bitcoin there, it's Arthur's Bitcoin. So
it's Arthur's Bitcoin.
Yeah. Is the United States going to end up with it?
I doubt it. This is why we have jurisdictional arbitrage, right? Like, it's possible. It's certainly possible. I would imagine that Arthur has been planning for this for years, and is holding his Bitcoin in a way that will make it very difficult for the U.S., even the U.S. empire, to seize it from him. So, yeah, I would be surprised. They will, I'm sure, have to pay some penalties at least, if not do some jail time, if they want to keep the business up and running. It's the long hand of the law. It does extend pretty far. Maybe they'll be able to get the coins, maybe not. But yeah, it's going to be tough times for these guys, but I'm sure they were expecting it. So.
Okay. Will someone will there be someone else to take their place to satisfy all the gamblers' needs?
Of course. I expect launch announcements like today, probably.
Okay, and I just want to remind everybody, all these dudes are linked to below. All my elite friends out there, check all these dudes out. But I want to say, if you are one of my elite friends, I hope by this point you've learned the lesson not to keep your Bitcoin or anything on any of these exchanges or gambling platforms or whatever they are. This is just another reminder, a big reminder. And I'm one more question for you, Brady, before we go to Brekkie. The New York Times is writing about this. All these people are writing about this. You expect some Bitcoin can be confiscated, FUD, or I mean, some confusion out there, because this is not Bitcoin. This is a third party that's being, in trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, let's note that the price dumped a few $100, right? And we had some other news last night that was shaking financial markets. So, in the light of those two events happening on the same day, and we took a few $100 tumble, like that's amazing. Let's look at it's a symbol of significant because of how far we've come, right? I mean, what happened when Mt. Gox was seized, right, or collapsed, and price tumbled. But then what happened soon after that, right? It just skyrocketed again. So we're putting away the tumble part of it. It doesn't even matter. Even one of the largest derivatives, if not the largest derivatives exchange in Bitcoin, goes down. Yeah. So I think this is bullish news, man.
All right. Yes, it is. People have tried to compare it to Mt. Gox. No way, baby. I mean, back then the ecosystem was so small. Look what it did. Now the ecosystem is so tremendous. This does really nothing. And yeah, we had other wacky news from the White House last night too. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end. All right, dudes, retweet this if you're watching this live. I just put it out there, and pound that like button, people. Let's go to Brekkie. What's your take on all of this situation?
Well, first of all, I agree with Brady that it's bad for BitMEX and BitMEX users, but it's so bullish that it's kind of crazy. I mean, how do I phrase this? Like, we went down a little bit, right? But as you said, like, the amount wasn't that much, and I almost feel like because of, like, can you be bullish on a dump? Like, I'm kind of bullish on the fact that it's dumping and that it didn't dump that hard. So that's first of all, that's one thing. Although long-term thinking, we don't care about price right now. But there was some interesting talk going on about this. One tweet in particular I found really interesting was from David Bailey, who's the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine and the Bitcoin Conference, all that. I'll read it real quick. He says, the fact that a bunch of old white guys at the CFTC and FBI just shut down the most successful black-owned fintech in the world for violating the Bank Secrecy Act has finally made me a believer in institutional racism. First we had fake news, and then now we have fake crime. I'm a little surprised I didn't believe in institutional racism before this, but I do agree. It's kind of suspect. Maybe it's a coincidence. Who knows? The other coincidence that I found to be not so coincidental it was on the anniversary of the day that they got Ross too, which I just find to be like a big ol' FU to everybody. But
it's interesting you bring up that tweet. They tried to tie it into current events there. Let me tell you, I don't think it was institutional racism. The dude's got the biggest freaking gambling parlor in crypto, and he happens to be an African American. He's an American citizen. When you're an American citizen, you're always connected. You always can be made an example out of. So I think I wouldn't be going that far into the institutional race. I'm not a big fan of people even claiming that for anything, to tell you the truth. But yeah, it is. People are it's out there. Everyone's got their own take on this. That's why it's the big story of the week. And Deniz, you're new to the show, but you've been around for a while.
One thing.
Oh, yes.
Maybe we'll bring it up later, but contrast this with the FinCell leak, and like it's absurd. So I don't know. Maybe if you want to get into that a bit later, but the fact that guys get away with so much crazy, so much. Yeah, I can't even.
Yeah. it's clear we're in a fascist economy we have. There's winners and there's losers that are picked. Okay, certain people can do certain things if you've got certain tie-ins with the government, and certain people can't do other things. Okay, but it is this as Brady said, they've been preparing for this for a while. I mean, he's been sticking out like a sore thumb over there, and you can only go about this for so long, for certain people at least.
Sticking out on purpose too, we should know, right? The Lambo stunt consensus in like 2017 or something like that. It parks 3 Lambos outside of the main entrance to the conference, which got picked up by mainstream media. Kind of flaunting, I guess the reason his coconut joke, which was actually cited in the press release from the CFTC, where he's like, he moved down to wherever they're located now. I don't even know where they're domiciled. Because the regulators there were able to be bribed with a coconut, as opposed to the, millions of dollars it would take if you were trying to bribe the United States government. So, like those are just, he's sticking out like a sore thumb on purpose. Arthur, man, like he's a character. I have respect for his brass balls, man. I'll tell you that. Like,
I want to say that I don't think the government should be interfering. I think I believe in the free market. This dude should be able to run his gambling parlor. This is personal responsibility, is new counterculture. United States government shouldn't be trying to protect all these gamblers. I mean, who knows what they're trying to do? But I'm into the creation that's out there in this space. I'm into all sorts of things. Just let the ICOs do their thing, but that's not the world we live in. The SEC, all these 3-letter, 4-letter agencies, they got to do something for the sake of doing something. I think it's disgusting. So I don't support this happening, but I can see why it is definitely happening. Now, Deniz, your time has come. What's your take on this?
Well, I agree with Brekkie. It's definitely a good thing. I see it as like every day is an opportunity to just get some more Bitcoin. Honestly, that's just how I look at it. And if it dumps like $500, okay, I'm going to buy. If it goes up another 1,000 and then dumps back to 3,000, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's I do agree with Brekkie too. That can something like this be considered a positive news? Yeah, it definitely can be, because it just shows you how much the space has matured, and at the same time, it gives the big, people. This is my usual show is called the One Bitcoin Show. It makes it that much cheaper for a little bit of time for people to get their one Bitcoin there. So we're going to keep hearing about it, though. It's something that the mainstream media definitely will pick up on. Before we move on, Brekkie, do you have anything more to say about this?
Yeah, just one thing about BitMEX that I think a lot of people forget. In all the talk of gambling, and don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of gambling and YOLO 100x longs on there, all that stuff. But the derivatives market are actually an important part of a mature Bitcoin ecosystem. We need that. So while the gambling is definitely a part of it, futures are going to be vital for people like miners, and it's not just gambling. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm picking on the 80. There's a lot of people who use it for gambling, but it serves a purpose. It is a part of the space. It makes it more of a legitimate space when you have a futures market. Okay, so yes, it's someone will take their place, of course, if they disappear, and it'll probably be someone that is friendly to all of the KYC regulations and whatnot. And we're going to talk about exchanges that don't do the KYC thing in a few minutes, which I love those. I love those guys. All right, and Brady, anything else before we move on?
No, I'm satisfied. Good job, guys. Go team.
Good. Go team. Pound that like button, everybody. All right, now let's talk about some SJW stuff. Well, let's talk about some Coinbase stuff. Well, it's a combination here. We'll start with Brekkie. I'm going to bring this up to you. Coinbase offers severance package to employees unsatisfied with apolitical mission. Now, I had a very busy week. I've been traveling. I didn't get to comment on this yet, so I'm going to comment on it first. Okay, dudes. It's amazing. Coinbase is located in the San Francisco Bay Area, where people are SJWs, and they're during this time of social unrest, They're turning their companies into social messaging platforms. You've got to be politically correct. And it seems like to me, Coinbase doesn't want to go in the direction. And if their employees are uncomfortable with them not being political, then they're going to give them money to go away. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, saying, we're not political, we're not dealing with this nonsense. And if you want to deal with this nonsense, then we'll pay you to leave. That's my take on it. And I know a lot of people don't like Coinbase, but I like what they're doing there. I think it's time that some of these corporations say, we're not going to play this game. It's a distraction, waste of time. We're a company. We're not a social justice warrior place. So, Brekkie, what is your take on this?
I've got many thoughts on this.
Okay.
On the one hand, Coinbase is so big. I don't know. I find it hard to believe that any company of that size can be non-political, no matter the industry they're in, just by the actions they take and how they affect the markets and things like that. But the very industry that Coinbase is in and the mission that Coinbase is supposedly on, it to me is inherently political. Bitcoin is political, so I don't know. I think Coinbase has lost the thread in a lot of ways. So I don't even know what their mission is anymore. It's an open, decentralized, open access to finance, but meanwhile everything they do is KYC. So I don't know. It's not bad news. I don't know. It's good news.
Politics has become very emotional in this last year. I mean, it dominates everything. And you got to say, it is a tremendous, I would have to think it's a tremendous distraction.
Did you say tremendous? Did I hear you say tremendous?
Exactly. So I think there comes a point when if you want to run an efficient business, you just got to only deal with business. So I on a certain level, yeah, Bitcoin is political, but you can make it not political. Okay. I mean, on an individual level, it's just straight up freedom and disintermediation and getting to a situation where you're so independent, you don't have to worry about politics at all. You don't have to worry about saying the right things if you said the wrong thing, the right thing, or whatever. So, Deniz, what's your take?
I think it's awesome that Brian is doing that because I feel like we need a lot more people like that especially in like the private corporate environment. I don't see a lot of that from clients and people I work with. Definitely not. I see them pandering mostly to just things they don't actually believe in, but they want to save face for their clients who they have to deal with. But yeah, I think Brian's going in the right direction, despite I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for that on Twitter. It's like, why do you support Brian? And why do you like Coinbase? Well, I'm in a particular situation because in New York, Coinbase is one of 3 options just to get Bitcoin. So there's that. I do think it's good overall, the direction he's going, if it is, genuine.
If it's just regarding the election and that kind of politics, then yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. I don't think he's been doing Bitcoin justice, obviously, but I think from a corporate perspective, I think he's doing a very good thing. Yes,
I agree. And hey, dudes, there's no Bitcoin Inquisition here. You could say you like Coinbase. You can say the dude's he's not a villain. I mean, he's not like the devil or something like that. People that you disagree with, they could do things that are pretty darn good sometimes, and it's got to be called out. So I'm on your side with this, Deniz. I think it's and his company's getting bigger and bigger and wealthier, and it's this next few months. I mean, I want the whole world to know what Coinbase is. Of course, I want the whole world to know what Swan is too. I mean, but we got to admit to ourselves that Coinbase got a lot of money, a lot of publicity, and 80%ers find out about them. It's one step closer. People finding out about Swan also. So let's go to a Swan guy here. Brady, what is your take on this SJW versus Coinbase situation?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's his company. He can do what he wants. So more power to him. to Brekkie's point, so Bitcoin, and I know what he means, right? But Bitcoin, the network itself, is apolitical. But it does have Bitcoin, the idea and the presence of a money that's non-sovereign, and all of the attributes of Bitcoin that make it what it is, make it the opposite of fiat money, makes it inherently political by consequence of its existence. We in Bitcoin talk a lot about these ideas of freedom, and that is a political idea. When the revolution happened, the American colonists, the English colonists, I should say, revolted against England. One of the big ideas that was baked into the Constitution and fought over during those conventions was the idea of separation of church and state, an idea of freedom, but a very, very political idea, directly opposed to the political regime from whence they came, right? So this is a similar situation. We as Bitcoiners, by holding Bitcoin, it is an act of defiance against tyranny. So Bitcoin is inherently a political thing. You can't get away from that. That's what Jack Dorsey was trying to say, right? Now, Jack does not, I can tell, like, when he followed up with his tweets, he's like, I'm not saying that, Bitcoin is, its first purpose is for social justice, right? But it is a consequence. If freedom is a part of the broader idea of social justice, which has been that phrase has been, politicized and demeaned at this point. But if it is a part of justice, if freedom is part of justice, then yeah, I think Bitcoin is a force for justice in the world. So I don't think you can escape that. Fine, keep it out of your conversations at Coinbase. I don't know if Brian even cares about that. Like Brekkie was saying, right? Like, I think he cares about making money. And, that I think that's very clear with all of the actions that he takes, including this one.
Well, I think it's good that he cares about making money. He should be. He's the CEO of that's his job.
I mean, like, only, which is fine. But like Jack Dorsey obviously, appreciates Bitcoin, not just for its potential to make money for Square, but also for the consequences, political and social consequences that it could have on the world. So
when do you think? Okay, you've made a great point of what Bitcoin can do for people that are involved with quote unquote social justice. It seems like we're not going in that direction. That the people that are involved in this it's a broad, social justice means nothing to me, really. But I mean, a lot of people
we can't really use that term anymore.
No. Yeah. But the people who yell about it, they seem to be going toward yelling more and getting into the streets. And I've always said that people on the left, when are they going to wake up to Bitcoin? When are they going to wake up to Bitcoin? I mean, it could help their cause so much. It seems like they're too impulsive, or they're not patient enough. They want instant change or instant gratification. I don't know. Do you see some of the SJWs out there one day somehow incorporating Bitcoin into their ways?
This is the world I come from, Adam. I come from a left-leaning liberal family and circle of friends. It's the way I grew up, and I still hold a lot of those beliefs. I identify as a libertarian now, but I identify as a libertarian in the sense that libertarians stand for freedom, and that includes social freedom, right, and justice. I obviously Keynesianism on the liberal side of, if you're talking about democratic politics, and, Republicans are Keynesians now too, that's obviously absolutely wrong and a terrible way to, a tyrannical way to run an economy. But yeah, I come from that background, and Bitcoin has changed the way I think in a lot of ways, including politically. And the liberal left is coming to Bitcoin. I talk to my friends about it. They understand it. I talk about Bitcoin as a way to, increase justice in the world. And that really resonates with friends who come from that background as well. So I think it's happening, man.
Yeah, and anyone can come to Bitcoin. That's the glorious part of it. A lot of people don't realize that, and that's when someone disagree with politically is able to buy Bitcoin, and so are you. Consider that a very the thing. All right. Since we've gotten into a little politics here, Brekkie, do you have anything to add to what was just said?
I think Brady hit the nail on the head. I mean, one thing is that I just think the left, the right, people are primed more than ever for Bitcoin now than they have been for a while. But, you know, it doesn't mean that they're going to find out about it on their own necessarily. You know, like that's why shows like yours and like what we do at Swan and what Deniz is doing, like lots of people, like we just need to keep talking about it. Like talk about it to your friends and talk about it to your neighbors and, you know, be that annoying Bitcoin guy if you have to. But if you believe in it, you know, it's worth it. And this is like an anecdote, and anecdotes, take them for what you will. But like I went to a friend's house for dinner the other night with some people who I hadn't met before. And for the first time, you know, in a while, you know, they wanted to know about Bitcoin. And I was just like, I'd have to stop myself in the middle and be like, you want me to continue? Okay, let's go. And it was great. So if you're a Bitcoin person, go out and talk about it.
All right. Yeah, better. You know, if you get into one of those uncomfortable conversations about the presidential debate, just bring up Bitcoin. Say you should have been worried about this instead of, you know, worrying about who was calling who a name or whatever. Okay, Deniz, any social justice stuff for you before we move on?
No, not too much. You guys have pretty much covered it. Basically, yeah, Brekkie's right. You just show lightly. I don't know if you guys have seen that meme. Show lightly. Just bring it up here and there. You don't have to force it down them. But yeah, they eventually get it, or they see the work you're doing. They're like, oh, why do you put so much effort and time into this? There must be something here. I don't know.
Lead by example, and don't get too crazy in anyone's face. Let you know, gradually get it in there. Very, very good advice. All right, let's move on to this story, which I really like. I've been lately on my show, I've been ranking stories in terms of how 20%er they are. Okay, and this one I give a 8 out of 10 on the scale. Okay, all right, and it makes me, and I say, what saying it makes me think of? Don't FOMO on alts. This story makes me think of. So what is this story here? This great news. More than half of all crypto exchanges have weak or no ID verification. Okay, so we've been living in this time where a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's terrible. I got to dump my altcoins, but I got to give up my ID." And the whole the ecosystem is becoming so much more corporate and so much more bootlicking to the government, and I have to tell them who I am. But no, this article shows you that from Europe to the United States, there's plenty of exchanges where you can dump your altcoins, and you don't have to weak or no ID verification. So I like that this still exists out there. I think it's great. Now I understand, you know, all the big names out there, they're totally compliant, of course, but this still exists. So I think it's a great thing that this exists, because a lot of people still have their altcoins to get rid of, because you shouldn't have. If you made a mistake, you FOMO'd on alts. Never FOMO on alts. Now, what I want to point out here, yes, I think it's great that such wacky exchanges still exist. How long they'll still exist for, I don't know. But don't go over to them and say, "Oh, well, time to gamble and to buy these altcoins." No. That's not what this news is for. So, Deniz, what was your take on this?
I came in around, I think, during that whole altcoin phase. That's pretty much how I got initiated into the entire space. So I'd say, yeah, I think it's super great that you still have these options out there. And I was looking into like peer-to-peer exchanges as well. It's totally doable if you are savvy enough or just interested in getting rid of those alts. I think I still have mine just as like a reminder, like, yeah, never touch this stuff again.
A souvenir to remember. Well, a question from the audience that pertains to this: how far away are we from real decentralized exchanges, Bitcoin only, where people can gamble with leverage and not have a team for the feds to target? Okay, that's kind of related. So let's Brady, to two parts there. So what's your take on the fact that we still have no KYC exchanges, and how far are we from getting to a point where there's going to be decentralized exchanges that can't be targeted by the feds, where people are going to be able to use leverage and gamble and whatnot?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, like I said in the chat, I'm not a derivatives person at all. I don't even really understand them, to be quite honest. Basically I understand them, but certainly not well enough to trade them. But yeah, I mean, I think no KYC is great. I mean, I think we need no KYC exchanges. We need decentralized exchanges. BISC is awesome. I'm a supporter of BISC. I'm a user of BISC. Mm-hmm. I think we also need KYC exchanges because we are in this transition period. And I don't know what the legal future looks like. There's a lot of question marks about the way society is going to be organized and governed in the future. So I have no idea. But I would like to live in a world that trends away from KYC for sure. And I think one way to do that is to have a combination of, Bitcoin being kind of in the legacy system and completely outside of the legacy system. So I think it's really important to build both sides up as we transition to whatever, kind of mix of both that we're going to have in the future.
I got to say, the dream of an exchange where you can deal with derivatives and you can do gambling and whatever you want to call it over there. It makes me think of the shirt I'm wearing. Where in the world is Satoshi Nakamoto? You can get shirts like this linked to below. But there's never going to be another Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't foresee a point where we have an exchange where the people behind it aren't targets, where there's a situation, someone has to create the decentralized exchange. There has to be a founder at some point. And the only way he can be that he can't be captured is if he dies, which I think Satoshi Nakamoto, I think he is deceased. So I don't know how we can get to a Satoshi Nakamoto type of situation even with decentralized exchanges. But who well, maybe we'll get close. I don't know. Since I'm not a gambler and I'm just into, and I've already given up my KYC. I mean, when I purchased my Bitcoin, it's already out there, BitcoinMeister did this. There's a record with the government. So I'm not too concerned about this, but I do know a lot of people are. So I don't know how these and I wish people luck. Aim high, dude. Aim to be the next Satoshi Nakamoto, where your creation could be 100% anonymous and where the government can't do what they're doing to Arthur Hayes. But I don't know how possible that really is. Okay, Brekkie, a lot was just said. What's going on with you and KYC and the likelihood we'll have super duper anonymous exchanges one day?
Well, I actually think it's a lot more likely than a lot of people think. I also don't think that for something like this, we need a Satoshi Nakamoto necessarily. So, for example, if anyone's interested in this, I'd recommend they check out one of the latest episodes of the Tales from the Crypt with Matthew Black, who's the co-founder of Atomic Finance. And they actually, interesting enough, they were working on the Ethereum side of things and basically realized that Ethereum is a dumpster fire, and we're like, all right, we got to go to Bitcoin. So they're exploring things like DLCs and the Lightning Network, along with the RGB protocol. And they're going to be allowing, I think, betting on the election using DLCs as like a test. And that's going to be coming out within the month. But I think their website is just atomic.loans. They're going to be building this. And the thing is, if you contrast what Arthur does, like BitMEX custodies the Bitcoin. That's the real issue. If these products are decentralized and no one is custodying the Bitcoin, there's no one to go after. Like, you can't arrest someone for creating code. Like, there's been precedent for that, So even if these guys are based out of Canada, where the laws are a little different, and I can't speak to them, but for now they're operating within the law, so they can build this. Basically what they're talking about on their website is non-custodial Bitcoin-backed loans, along with leverage. So I think in the next 6 to 12 months, like, we're going to have a decentralized alternative that's Bitcoin only, and it's going to be pretty awesome. And the cool thing, I was listening to the pod with Marty and Matthew, I believe, or Matt. And the cool thing about this is because of they're leveraging the Lightning Network, it's not going to affect the base layer, the base chain, in the same way that, for example, like DeFi affects Ethereum. Like, if degenerate gamblers want to go on and play around with some smart contracts on Lightning and gamble and create tokens, they can do that, and it's not going to bid up prices for transactions on the base layer. So to me, it's like I'm not a gambler. I'm not really a DeFi person, but I have nothing against it in theory. I just always thought it's coming to Bitcoin, and when it does, it's gonna be a hell of a lot better. And I think that's what's gonna happen.
It's the thing. You've given me a segue into the next topic here, but you talked about loans. Atomic, I don't know about those dudes. I'm a guy who obviously I don't like playing the loans game. I don't encourage people to give up their Bitcoin, for a 6% return. But even Eric Voorhees, he got interested in it with Salt Lending, and they had an ICO. And I remember when I was like, why is this Salt thing so big? Why do people mess with it? Well, the news came out. The SEC orders Salt Lending to refund investors in its $50 million ICO. So since I got Brekkie on the line here, what was your take on this?
Shitcoiner's going to shitcoin. I mean, like we still haven't seen the full unwinding of 2017, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't have a huge opinion on this one way or the other. The government's going to do what it's going to do, and people who didn't take the appropriate precautions or launch their project in the right way are going to feel the pain. Unless, of course, they're like, EOS and they raise billions of dollars and they can just pay the fines and get away with it. So,
yes. So what's your take on Salt Lending, Brady? Yeah,
I'm not surprised. I mean, I guess this has been happening for quite a while too, or been under investigation for a while. It's a tiny slap on the wrist penalty wise, which, not surprised by that, but it sucks. They made bajillions of dollars, or I don't know how much they raised, but in the ICO craze 2017, I would not be surprised if it wasn't billions on their ICO, and it's a $250,000 fine, and they have to give investors the opportunity to get their money back. So I don't know how many investors will take them up on that. It'll be their job to convince them that they can show a return moving forward, I guess. Also not a fan of, Bitcoin-based, yields for loaning out your Bitcoin, especially when you're giving up your keys. This atomic loans thing is really interesting. This is the first time I've looked at the landing page. I'm definitely going to dig into it more, but they say you can leverage your Bitcoin up to 3x in a completely decentralized manner. That's interesting. I don't know exactly how that would work.
Yeah, that sounds true. That
sounds that's interesting to say the least. But like Unchained offers Bitcoin-backed loans that are multi-sig, and you don't have to give up your keys. You can still control your private keys. Put them into a multi-sig. So yeah, that's interesting. I understand. Business people who run businesses need to have access to liquidity in different forms. So I think being able to raise fiat to pay bills in your business using your Bitcoin is a good service. So I definitely like Unchained's approach to Bitcoin-backed loans.
I want to put something out here. I think people are seeing me make faces when I talk about loans and everything, and when we talk about futures. Again, so I do not participate in these things at all, and I encourage people not to participate in these things. But finance is finance. These things are necessary. There is risk involved. It's definitely nothing is guaranteed in life, but in a mature financial ecosystem, you need things like this. So I can make my faces all I want to, and I just, again, buy and hold, people. That's what my slogan is. But I'm willing, let people create whatever loan, the loan companies that are funded by ICOs. Let them do what they want to do, and let the market decide. Okay, but yeah, we do in any financial world, you need places to get loans and get interest, et cetera, et cetera. But of course, we're living in such a creative, awesome golden age space that you could just hold on to your Bitcoin. You get your crypto dividends, get your airdrops and your forks, and you don't have to give that up to anyone. You just have to know what you're doing. All right, Deniz, your take. Have you ever been tempted by loans before, and what do you think about this Salt Lending?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've been tempted just to consider it. But you know how it is in New York. They don't let you do anything here. So a lot of those services are just not offered here. So it's like, all right, I guess I'm just stuck with Bitcoin. That's totally fine with me.
It's interesting. I've never asked a New York guy to get really down with to tell us about the frustrations of of New York. I mean, New York is supposed to be the financial capital of the world, yet look what they've done to cryptocurrency. It's very interesting. So can you tell us any frustrating stories about New York?
Most of the time it's just, well, people who talk to me from New Jersey, they're always like, why can't I buy this? Why can't you buy this coin? It's like, well, because I don't have an exchange that offers it, or I have to go to another state just to, you know, like peer-to-peer with someone. It's like, I'm not going to do that. It's just way too much work.
So wait, you're saying Ben Lawsky has saved you from making all these mistakes? Is that true?
Pretty much. I think that is the shining light in New York right now. It's like, oh, you only have access to what Gemini offers you or Coinbase. That's it. Most of the time. I don't know if you could do like a VPN thing with like another exchange, but a lot of people are just not going to do that.
It is. I mean, still, New York is a huge market, so I'm sure Gemini and Coinbase are quite pleased that it's so hard for competitors to get into the market. But again, that's what we talked about, a fascist type of economy that we're living in here. All right, God, New York City. It's amazing. It's amazing that it's backward in that way. But okay, and that Wyoming, that all the people in New York City make fun of Wyoming, say they shouldn't have a senator, et cetera, et cetera. That's where the freedom is in terms of the economy. But so many people are caught up in their 80%er world where you just have to blindly rip on Wyoming's backward. That's the party line. But in reality, we see what's going on. Yeah, props to Caitlin Long. Keep it up over there. All right, now let's move to this awesome subject matter, and I'm gonna talk to Brady specifically because, dude, you've been doing a really good job talking to people like Dan freaking Tapiero and Max Kaiser, and I don't know if you've talked to the flavor of the month Saylor. What's his name? Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. We've got these guys that are smart guys, and they didn't originate in Bitcoin, but they've really they've talked a big game in Bitcoin. Okay, huge game. They talked in Bitcoin, so they become immediate cult heroes. And I got to say, especially on the Michael Saylor point, this dude has turned his freaking company that had nothing to do with Bitcoin into like. It's not a Bitcoin company, but it's really. He's got a page. It's linked to below. They've got a Bitcoin page on their site right now. So tell us about talking to Max and talking to Dan, and tell us about are people do these guys become cult heroes too quickly in our space? And we should remember that one person does not make Bitcoin. I think it's great that we have outsiders coming in and then all of a sudden becoming Bitcoiners. I think it's cool, but at times I think it's like insane the way people just become obsessed with them. So take it away.
I'm naming my firstborn Michael Saylor, whether it's a boy or a girl. Michael Saylor, one name.
Saylor. All right, Brady.
Yeah. I've been really honored to talk to a lot of these people lately on the Swan Signal podcast and show we do on YouTube. I've had some amazing guests. I mean, of course, I'm going to set Max Kaiser aside because he's not a noob. He's been around since 2011. He's an OG. But
he did come from a completely different.
Well,
again, he has been in long enough. Okay, he is a different case. You're right. It's a little bit different.
I think he's a different case, but you're right. He did come from a financial background, right? And I did a podcast. He
was famous beforehand. He was known beforehand. So he was like the first famous person to come to Bitcoin or whatever.
I would probably so. Yeah, I would say so. He was certainly one of the first, like the most mainstream media person who was talking about Bitcoin regularly. I think Max would totally like just be aghast at being called mainstream media. He's not, but in most popular, and most widely watched media that was been talking about it since 2011. Max, I did a podcast with him on Citizen Bitcoin. And that was an awesome hour and 45-minute conversation. We got into Max's history. Super interesting guy. But I think the people you're talking about are like Michael Saylor, Jeff Booth, who's a CEO of tech CEO and on a bunch of boards in Canada. He wrote the book, The Price of Tomorrow. So he's done all of the the podcast and Bitcoin media rounds. He was on the show. Talked to this guy named George Gammon, who is a macro investor, has a big YouTuber in terms of finance investing and stuff. Raoul Pal was on with VJ just a little bit ago. Michael Saylor will be on in 2 weeks, the week after next, with Danielle DiMartino Booth, who also should be put into this category. So yeah, these are all people who are mostly in like the macro investing world, and they seem to be the people who are kind of waking up next. Saylor is more in the CEO role, but he's also an investor. I mean, he's got money to not melt, to not let melt, as he puts it. Look, this is great. This is great for Bitcoin. This is all good for Bitcoin. I am not concerned about people fawning over Michael Saylor because, if he does something that's against the Bitcoin ethos, the white blood cells will come out, and Bitcoiners have no compunction against slaying heroes. It happens all the time. So I think Michael Saylor is awesome for Bitcoin. He just tweeted out just 3 hours ago. I just now saw it for the first time, but I don't have it here, but I think paraphrasing, it was something like, Bitcoin is not a way to send someone. It was something about time. Send money to 10,000 people, but it was a way to send money in 10,000 days or something like that. I need to find the tweet. It was so good.
The magic of Bitcoin isn't the transfer of money to someone 10,000 miles away. It is the transfer of money to someone 10,000 days away.
Yeah. So the way he's talking about this being, a storing, I love the way he talks about, like, this is putting money into an encrypted wall of encrypted energy and letting it sail through time untouched. Right. So it's like this. It's amazing the way he talks about it. And he's come up to speed so quickly, which I think is a testament to the quality and just volume of Bitcoin education content that has blossomed over the past couple of years. We brought this guy who has a bunch of money and some influence now as part of being in the Bitcoin field, up to speed to insane levels of conviction in a few months. And he's 450 million in now and running his company on a Bitcoin standard. Like, that's awesome.
Yes. Hey, I want to ask you specifically, out of all the dudes you mentioned, out of all the dudes I mentioned, the one I like the best out of them is Dan Tapiero. So tell us a little bit about talking to him.
Yeah. So he was just on this past week with Dan Matuszewski, who it was a great pairing because, Dan's a little older. He's like on the older end of the Gen X side, the young end of the boomer side. And Dan Matuszewski is like been in Bitcoin since he was, just out of college, basically. He was on the early team of Kraken. He ran trade the head of trade at Circle. And so it was a really cool pairing because, of course, Dan Tapiero has a bunch of experience, in macro for 25 plus years, 30 years, a bunch of experience in the gold field. And so coming from the sound money angle on the gold end, I think is a really also great thing for Bitcoin, right? So he's talking to people who understand the prospects of sound money, the need for sound money, and it's just saying, look, you also, if you have gold, you also need to have Bitcoin in your portfolio. Like, it's, these are the two sound monies, serious options for sound money that we have in a time of massive inflation that's only going to keep going. So yeah, I love that message. I love a guy coming from the gold world, bringing that message directly to. He's very well trusted there. He's like the anti-Peter Schiff in the gold world, and I think a lot more credible. Yeah.
Pound that like button for the anti-Peter Schiff, gold and hold, people. All right, Brekkie, your take on the big names coming in and out, and anything you want to say about that?
Not too much more than Brady. I agree. It really is a testament to the quality of education that's out there now. It's certainly difficult to find your way regardless, to know where to start and what's credible and not, but it's a lot less difficult than it used to be. And, Michael Saylor is a testament to that. One other thing, though, that I think is just, this is definitely an ego boost for a lot of us on this side of things. But if you look at a lot of what Michael has been saying on all the podcasts, it's essentially a very rational defense of the maximalist position, and I think a lot of quote unquote Bitcoin maximalists, whether you label yourself that or not, have always said that it's not based in dogma. Like, yes, there are a lot of people who just like spout dogma and repeat the like party line almost. But there's a reason why we hold these beliefs, and I think Michael came to that decision very, very quickly. And I think that's really powerful, and hopefully we see a lot more people do that.
Yes. Now again, we do have to remember about Michael. Back in 2013, he was tweeting out. He was no fan of Bitcoin back then. But people's mind can change. Have an open mind. Don't be stubborn like Peter Schiff. All right, Deniz, I don't know if you have any thoughts on what we've just been talking about. Because I want to actually break it down from the big names to the small names to the opportunity for anyone out there, all the no names out there to make their point in this space. That the opportunity is out there, and you are a dude who is in motion, who has taken advantage of that. So. Do you have anything to say about the big names before we move on to your story?
For sure. Yeah, I guess I agree with everything you guys have said. Basically, the more the merrier. And I think what really trips a lot of these guys up is that Bitcoin is too new, like it's too young, or it's like not tested. But I do actually have like a piece of an article where I basically compare the amount of time that Bitcoin is traded versus like the New York Stock Exchange or the S&P. So if you just calculate the time, so let's see. So Bitcoin obviously trades 24/7, right? So then we can calculate the amount of time that it's been trading versus something like the New York Stock Exchange, which is only open for, what do I have here? It's like
5 days a week.
Yeah, 5 days a week, 6.5 hours a day. And then it's closed on holidays.
It's crazy.
So if you do the math, it's roughly about, Bitcoin is traded for about 22% of the total trading time that the New York Stock Exchange has traded for since its inception, 82% of the S&P. So Bitcoin is basically traded the same, little less than the S&P. So if you still have doubts, it's like, well, the price action has been happening about the same time as the S&P.
That's a very interesting comparison you're making, because Bitcoin's going to catch up with all of those guys soon enough, because it's 24/7. Now,
Yep.
it wouldn't shock me if all those other guys change their ways at some point. It's so old school to only be open 5 days a week during trading hours. That's from the 1950s, dude. I'm surprised it hasn't. Maybe that'll be one of the things that'll change in this golden age that cryptocurrency will bring. It'll wake these dudes up, these traditional markets. But very, very interesting comparison. And so you are a dude who you came into the space, and you've watched my show for a while. And one day I brought up, hey, does anybody want to write for this new publication out there? And you jumped on it and you became a writer for them. And you really demonstrated what In Motion is all about. And the opportunities that are going on in this space. And you are the guy. People who watch my show are familiar with this. I tweeted out, or I shared that hey Adam, do you know any Bitcoiners who would be interested in managing social media for a Bitcoin startup? And that was you, who is trying to get more, spreading the word that you have another opportunity out there. So tell us about your journey a little bit, from just you were just a regular dude, had some Bitcoin, and now you're writing about Bitcoin, and you're trying to get other people to work in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I started around, like, I'm probably, I guess, considered like the class of 17, 2018. Built a mining, like a mining rig with a GPU with my friend, and I realized, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Like, what's going on here? And then around 2019, I think I was reading up on like 1984 and Creature from Jekyll Island, and that led me to actually take Bitcoin seriously. It's like, well, this solves basically all those problems. Why don't I continue to look into this and see what I can contribute? But yeah, I'm here and there, like on Twitter, always watching your show, Adam.
Now, what's the name of the publication that you're writing for now? Or
oh yeah,
and tell us more about the job that's out there. I mean, is that job still open, the social media manager?
Right. So I write for Coinbeast, not Coinbase, Coinbeast. Basically, they want to empower individuals with as much information as possible for the space. So we'll present you with what's going on, and then you make the best decision for your current situation. So I don't know, if you do want to get into altcoins, I wouldn't suggest it, but if you do, we'll have publications on that as well. But I only focus on the Bitcoin stuff because, I mean, that's where it's at.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. For the social media position, I believe it's still open. My contact over there hasn't said that it's been filled. So if you guys are still interested, definitely let me know. I guess the reason why I guess I'm also in Bitcoin is because if you look at it from like a percentage standpoint, so if you start Bitcoin right now, and then if you're still in the space from 2024, you're basically, you're at the ground level of an industry, and you're pretty much involved in the space from like 25% of its existence. So it's like, I don't know, you're not going to find other opportunities in other industries because they already have the major players there. It doesn't really make sense if you're someone younger than 30 to pursue something else that's not Bitcoin.
And I think the point here is that you just didn't talk the talk. You walked the walk. You said, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here, and you picked it up and you took advantage of the opportunity. Now you're working in the space. And I just want to show the world this example of a dude. You could be this guy. Anyone could do this, okay? It is a growing space. Where else can you join at the beginning of a whole new, I mean, it could be bigger than the internet. I mean, or even if it's just a fraction of the internet, it's still huge. When do you get this, when are you going to have this opportunity again? You don't know. It's like a once in a lifetime thing, and he jumped on it. So be in motion. He is the embodiment of being in motion. Okay, we've come to the end here. I want everybody to, we'll start with Brekkie here. Conclusionary thoughts, any stories that were left out, anything that you want to share that you're doing personally?
Oh man, put me on the spot here.
We can come back to you.
Give me a second.
Okay, Brady.
Yeah, well, I was listening to Deniz talk there, and I was thinking, like, something I've been talking about lately is, this is the beginning of the Bitcoin industry, really, right? We've been living in we had, exchanges become big businesses. That was sort of the only viable business in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, in terms of a, large success, until now, where we're seeing the birth of the Bitcoin only industry, which is really exciting. We have Bitcoin only exchanges like Swan going up and River, and we have other custody companies like Casa and Unchained, and all kinds of other services that are being built to provide Bitcoin only services. So this is the beginning of this industry. Obviously we know it's early. There's not that many Bitcoiners out there. It might seem like that on Twitter, but actually a tiny number that really, really study and know what's going on here. You are going to be in demand. All right. Like every big financial company, and eventually tech company, and eventually all companies are going to have people on staff who understand what Bitcoin is and how it works. And so you're building a resume right now by just participating in Twitter, right? And start making content. I got this job at Swan because I started the Citizen Bitcoin podcast. That's what put me on the radar, on Corey's radar, and started our relationship. So Bitcoin companies want to hire Bitcoiners. And if you kind of build your resume slowly but surely over time, you're going to get on the radar, and you're going to find a job doing what you love to do. So just keep going.
Dude, pound that like button. This is a point that I have been making, that some people out there in the Bitcoin space, they don't think they have special skills. Dude, you know how to send the Bitcoin. You got a special skill. You make that, you make it sound real nice on your resume. Again, every company is going to need a guy that knows how to send the Bitcoin. I know it sounds so common and simple in our space, but it's going to be something awesome for your resume, that you know how to handle anything dealing with Bitcoin. So yeah, put yourself out there, people. Put yourself out there. It could be as simple as Twitter, and just learn the 5 basic skills that I've talked about before. All right, Deniz, what your conclusionary thoughts? Anything you want to share?
I just want to thank you for all these opportunities, Adam. Keep throwing them my way. Thank you so much for having me here.
I love the people that take advantage of the opportunities. There's so many people that they don't have the self-confidence. They think, oh, it's not for me. It's for someone else is going to do it. That's the 80%er mentality, okay? You got to jump on it in this world. And I just want to remind everyone that if you think everybody else is jumping on it, they're not. So most people just don't have the confidence. They want other people to do the work for them. The opportunities are out there. Even when things seem so dark and scary, this is a freaking golden age. All right, and it was great to have you on the show, Deniz. Great debut. All right, we'll conclude with Brekkie.
Sure. I'm going to piggyback off what Brady said a little bit and kind of reiterate a little bit. 100%. Like I've got my job at Swan basically from making memes and artwork and leveraging some of the skills I had in the outside world. Like I was a filmmaker before this, and I was like, I thought I was going to use film to make the world a better place, and then I found crypto, and then I realized Bitcoin and
live streaming is on.
And that's when Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. No, all right, back to it real quick. I was using putting my film school stuff and my filmmaking skills to work at Swan and in other ways. So if you're at home and you do something that is unrelated to Bitcoin, I bet there's a way that you could make it related to Bitcoin if you want. And if, I don't know, you're a plumber or a doctor or anything else, you don't have to work in Bitcoin if you don't want to. You can keep being awesome at what you do, and you can incorporate Bitcoin. You can say to your customers, hey, if you want to pay in Bitcoin, I'll give you a 10% discount. And here's a little booklet I put together of some Bitcoin resources. And you can do your own part for Bitcoin wherever you are and no matter what you do. So that's all I'll say. Also go to swanbitcoin.com and join the Swan Force enlist, swanbitcoin.com/enlist. And it's the end of my show. Thanks for having me with that.
All right, dudes. Awesome show. Everybody pound that like button. Remember, these elite guests, they're all linked to below. Check them out. Follow them on Twitter, of course. I do this show every freaking Friday. Best freaking guests in the space. You get different guests every week, different combos. We got a rotation going. I love these guys. Hello, my elite friends. Goodbye, my elite friends. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the BitMeister. Pound that like button. We will see you next week. We'll see you tomorrow, etc. Subscribe, whatever I say. Shabbat shalom. Everybody have a great Sukkot starts tonight. Have a fun time in your sukkah. I know so many of you are going to be in the sukkah tonight. Okay, whatever it is. See you guys. Shabbat shalom. Seriously, it was a great time. Bye-bye. And